we start with the new episode of Learn It With Me, I would like to say a big thank you for those who have reposted our previous post and people who have DM us heartfelt messages saying that it's a very supportive program, and many of you have been sending us very sweet messages all across our platforms, and we would like to say a very big thank you. And I hope that in the future I could still do more of these type of programs, and this program, the FAS and the COVID program, will continue to run all the way until December 2021. So if there's still any students out there or any friends who know of this type of students, do forward them this message or the previous video's message and telling us that the $20 a month is capped for any subjects, any levels, and any background, but you have to give us the proof of the financial background. So without further ado, let's get into the Learn It With Me episode 3. It's about the N-level question based on graphs, and in this episode especially, we are looking at how do you know how much x-axis, y-axis space you need, how do you calculate gradient, how do you draw your tangent line, and overall a graph questions from the N-level and N-level question. So without further ado, enjoy the video. In today's question, we'll be looking at a graph type of question from the GCE N levels. For this type of question, you are missing a y value. However, they already have given you the function of the graph, which is y equals to 4 to the power of x. In this case, it is already given that x is -1. The only thing to do is to sub in your -1 in your x. Therefore, y equals to 4 to the power of -1, which gives you a value of 0.25. This 0.25 will be in your y value. The next part of the question, they are asking you to draw the graph, and on the y-axis and the x-axis, they have labeled the scale. For the x-axis, we are looking at 4 centimeters to 1 unit. This 4 centimeters to 1 unit is simply saying that for every centimeter, and for the y-axis, it will be 4, you will have a 1 unit. Since we are doing it on iPad, for every single box, we will take it as 1 centimeter. So for the x-axis, it will be 4 boxes gives you 1 unit, and for the y-axis, 2 centimeters to 1 unit, meaning to say it will be 2 boxes which gives us 1 unit. 1 unit, which means an increment of 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can see that for the x-axis, it is actually extremely big, but however, the numbers on the x-axis is very small. So let me just copy this entire table so it's easy for us to refer, and I'll put it here. For the graph, I've already drawn it up, and I'll explain it in a bit when I pull it up. We can see that for the y-axis, it spans from 0.25 all the way to 8, which is exactly what's happening here. For every 2 centimeters on the y-axis, there is an increment of 1 unit, as can be seen here. So we can look, for every 2 centimeters, it's 1. For every 2 centimeters, it's 1. For every 2 centimeters, it's 1. However, for the x-axis, we are looking at 4 units for every 1 unit increment. And therefore, there's a very wide range here on the x-axis. And why didn't I draw the y-axis negative region? As you can see, it's missing because there is no negative value on the y-axis, as can be seen here. Every single number here is positive. So let me draw all of the points. So how do you draw the points? So let me draw using a red marker. For the x, it says that x is -1 when y is 0.25. So for the x-axis, we are looking here, and for the y-axis, we are looking at here. So let me mark down the x-axis first. For x-axis is -1, and for the y-axis is 0.25, which is in the middle here. Alright,
How do I know that this number is in the middle here? This is 0.25 simply because 1 is above 2 units. So this entire thing here is 1. To find one of these boxes, I'll take 1 divided by 2, which is 0.5. Each of these boxes is 0.5. Since I'm looking for 0.25, I have to further divide each box into its own half. 0.5 divided by 2 gives you 0.25, which is why I know the region of 0.25 is here. So what I have to do is I have to bring up the dotted lines, and this is my point here. I always try to remove all these dotted lines because it's going to be a mess. So I'll continue to do the rest of these values. So we can see that again, I reiterate, the x is at -1, the y is 0.25, and therefore I'll mark it here because this is the intersection points. Where the lines intersect, that's where I'll jot down the marks. So I'll continue to do all of the rest of the coordinates. So I'll bring out my handy ruler for this 1.5. So x is 1.5 and x is 8. So it'll be here. And what I have to do for the next step is to join up all of these coordinates. So simply just join them up. For this part, it's just freehand, move a freehand. So this is the graph that you will see. Obviously, you have to draw it in much of a smoother type of line. However, since it's in an iPad, it's a bit difficult. Now, let me remove here so we do not confuse ourselves. For the next part of the question, it asks for the value of x when y is 5. At this point, we need to know what does y equals to 5 mean. For y equals to 5, it means that it is just a straight line. When y equals to 5, it's just a straight line cutting your y-axis. So let us draw that line first when y equals to 5. So I'll move my box here because it's in the way of my drawing. So when y equals to 5, I'll just be drawing this straight line. Now we can see that this y equals to 5 is cutting in the curve. At this point, you will jot it down and you will make a dotted line all the way down here such that you can find out what is the x value. And the x value, it will be around 1.1 to 1.3 max, because this is the inaccuracy of the squares, but we will take it as that. And this is your answer for part C, where they're asking you to find the value of x. So this is your part C, where C, when y equals to 5, x equals to 1.1. In your last question, we are looking at the tangent line. The tangent is just a straight perpendicular line to anything. So let's say if there's a tangent here, this is the tangent. This is a tangent line. So it's just a line perpendicular to another line or to another curve, and it could be all of those different variations. But in this case, we are supposed to draw the tangent line when x equals to 1. So when x equals to 1, I'll make it another color in green. I'll just dot up all the way as it hits the curve. At this point, we are looking at the tangent line. So the tangent line is basically at this certain point, we are just drawing a straight line. Okay, it has to be closer. It has to be closer. Okay, hold up. Yeah. Let me just redo this. Okay, so for the tangent line, we have to dot out a line at x equals to 1 because the graph question is asking for when x equals to 1. So we just follow step by step for this. So I'll draw a dotted line from 1 all the way up to the graph. As it hits the graph, I will draw a tangent. So as to draw a tangent, I'm just drawing a straight line on that certain point, as you can see here. Drawing a straight line. And from this line, what you have to do is that you have to find the gradient of this line. To find the gradient of the line, of any straight line, you have to pick 2 points. When you pick 2 certain points, you just name it as, that's example, this is tan 4, this is 5 minus 2. Okay, example. You just have to name each coordinate point as x1, y1, x2, and y2. And the formula for gradient for a straight line is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And this will be your gradient of the graph. And for this case, since you already draw the tangent line, just pick out any 2 points on the line and you will get your gradient. Why do I say that you can pick out any point in the line? Because for a straight line, the gradient will be the same. For straight lines, the gradient will be the same because the steepness level is the same throughout your straight line. It's all same. So your rise over run, it will always be the same throughout your tangent line. And that is how you complete and get all of your 6 full marks in your N-level question.